Hello, I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic Wrestling, and you are watching Tom Talks Rubbish. It's the place for interviews, wrestling reviews, and so much more.
Make sure you subscribe to Tom Talks Rubbish. I highly recommend you subscribe here first.
What's going on, guys? It's your boy, Tom Talks Rubbish, and today I'm back with another interview. This time, I'm joined by Dom from the Gimme A Hull Yeah podcast. So welcome to the show, Dom.
Oh, mate, thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure. It's an honour to be here.
Before we start with the interview, I want to get the mushy stuff out of the way.
Yeah.
I just want to thank you guys for giving me a whole year because you've been so supportive since I started my YouTube channel, and it's very much appreciated.
That's all right, man. No problem. It's for me, it's really cool to see someone else with a disability on YouTube talking about wrestling. Obviously, it's our goal to have you on our channel at some point as well. So thank you for your support too. We appreciate it. We've found ever since we've been doing live streams and ever since we've been building this community in lockdown, collaboration is key. Working with other people is key.
I would agree with that. So I didn't expect us to start with this, but we'll go there. Okay. You mentioned disability, right?
Yeah.
Would you be comfortable clarifying what your disability, your experience with disability is?
That's a great question. So I have cerebral palsy, so I walk with two sticks at all times.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I used to be in a wheelchair till I was around full-time till I was around 16. And then basically I had a bunch of operations. Very lucky when I was growing up, even though it was a lot of pain, a lot of stress, to have a supportive environment around me where I could go and travel up and down the country, to have my legs cut open and botulinum injections, all that stuff.
I think I know the exact surgery you had, but I'll ask you off camera because it's a bit gruesome.
Yeah. So that's enabled me to certainly in later life still be able to walk. Still be able to have a range of movement, to be able to travel and things like that. But yeah, I know what it's like to be in a chair. I know what it's like to struggle. Obviously, there's a certain element of pain, that I go through in a day. But doing creative, cool things like Gimme A Hull Yeah and being able to, work with people like yourself, that's what motivates me. I have the Gimme A Hull Yeah podcast. I have Soundsphere magazine, where we do all of our, where we do a lot of our wrestling stuff. We get to interview bands and travel the world, and it's a wonderful job. So nothing, just like yourself, man, nothing has stopped me. The only thing I always say is, because I usually have my hands full unless I'm sat down, is I can't carry heavy boxes, but everything else is good,
And without sounding a bit rude, sometimes not having to carry heavy boxes is a blessing, though, right?
Absolutely. We're very lucky that we don't have to carry too many heavy boxes around.
I would 100% agree with you on that. Because, just to say a bit about me, I'm slowly starting to learn that, people that I don't know are starting to watch my content and enjoy it. And it's this is weird. What is happening? Have you had that moment yet?
Yeah, it's cool, isn't it, man? It's cool. I mean, I watched I watched a couple of your interviews. I've seen a lot of your reviews. I think they're fantastic. Like I've said, you're going to grow and develop. You're nearly at 500 subscribers. We were there, just before lockdown. We didn't do any live streams. We were doing all pre-recorded stuff. And then we just decided to do live streams when my colleague, the guy who I set up the channel with, Anthony, you may have met him on one of our streams. He was struggling for things to do in lockdown when he was furloughed, and we were like, oh, let's do some live streams. Let's build a community, and we were able to do that through YouTube, through creating content, live content, watching wrestling at ridiculous hours in the morning UK time,
Right.
And I can see that with you, I can see you're developing new content. You've got interviews, you've got not just wrestling stuff, you've got stuff around, stuff around your history, mental health. And I really like that, man. I really admire your ethos and your work ethic.
I appreciate that, man. Like,
No worries.
but my thing with my channel, and this isn't just going to be a conversation about me. We'll get into Gimme A Hull Yeah in a minute. But is if I focused on one topic, I'd get bored.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I do know what you mean, man. I do know what you mean, and I'm glad that you're able to do that. You've got this as a creative outlet. You know,
That's all it is.
Yeah.
And if other nifty stuff like this, interviews like this happen, cool. But for me, it's just, as the name of the channel suggests, a place where I can talk rubbish. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And it's great. And you never know where it's going to go from here. You know, you've been able to, you know, interview Adam Bachiti and have have those names on the channel, as well as, you know, people that you're close with. And I think that's a great platform for them.
I think I started, again, we will get into Give Me A Hull Yeah in a sec, interviewing people I was close with because I was a novice at interviewing and I didn't want to approach someone like Adam without having a portfolio of interviews to show my work.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense?
It does. It does make sense. Yeah. And you've done some really good work. I mean, what are you, interestingly for me, you know, what are your goals? What do you want to do with it? What's your end goal for Tom Talks Rubbish?
I don't know, because it's always like a creative outlet. If I make a bit of money on it, cool. But it's not about the money. It's about I'm enjoying what I'm doing.
Absolutely.
Like, for example, I've been pinged, so I've been isolating for a week.
Okay.
So this gives me a creative outlet and something to do while I'm isolated. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. That makes loads of sense, man. You know, and I really admire it. And I think, you know, I mean, do you want to end up interviewing wrestlers? Do you want to end up interviewing like we do with Soundsphere? We do musicians quite a lot, and we get to do lots of different types of stuff. So we get to do smaller bands, much bigger bands, and much bigger wrestlers. You know, is that your goal? Do you want to do kind of more entertainment stuff?
I don't know. As I say, because I cover a variety of topics, I don't want to limit myself.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I like.
So for now, I'll say I'm just happy interviewing who I get to interview.
Yeah,
and we'll see where the future holds. I apologise for my subscribers that have heard all them stories before and had to listen to them again. So let's get into you guys now, Dom.
Cool. Yeah, nice one, man. So yeah, I mean.
Where did the idea say that again?
I was just saying, go ahead. Absolutely, man. I'll take any question you've got, anything at all.
Where did the idea for Give Me A Hull Yeah come from?
Yeah, well, we myself and Anthony, who you may have met on one of our live streams, we are friends. We've known each other for about nearly 20 years, maybe a little over, and we both moved away from Hull, where we are both sort of originally from. And we sort of travelled, you know, so he went to Nottingham and a bunch of other places. I went to York and then America, and we just kind of we both arrived back in Hull, I think around 2 or 3 years ago, and we were like, let's do a podcast about wrestling, because we always loved wrestling, and we always said that we would do something around wrestling one day, you know. So he went off to become a performer. He ended up teaching acting. I ended up working in journalism. So I moved to London, a bunch of other places as well. Ended up working for different magazines. And then, you know, moved to America for a little while. And I was like, what I'll do when I go back to Hull is I'll connect back up with Anthony, who's one of my best friends. In the whole world.
Were you guys close throughout all the time that you weren't in the same area?
Yeah, absolutely. We always kept in touch. I mean, we weren't always as close as we are now, you know, but we, like, geographically, because we literally live 5 minutes away from each other. Yeah, so we decided we would do this. We decided we'd put it into action. Our goals and our aims that we had when we were younger, we were like, you know what, we'll do this. You know, Anthony's a performer. Professionally, he likes talking to people. I have a background in that, and we were like, okay, let's just talk about wrestling. Let's just talk about, we started as a history of wrestling pay-per-views channel. You can see our Wrestling Rewind series, and that's how we started. We just watched.
That's how I found you guys.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool, because that's cool. That's so nice, because I you know, we weren't sure how it was going to go. The pre-recorded stuff, you know, it wasn't, you know, we were just creating content because we loved it. You know, very much like where you are now, we were doing it because we loved it. We were doing it because we wanted to do it. And then we were like, okay, well, we're in lockdown, like I mentioned earlier. Anthony was furloughed from his work in the theatre, and I was I was basically working from home, but I you know, as a freelancer, as a creative, I work a lot of hours. So we were like, let's do some live streams. Let's stay up, you know, 1 a.m. till 4 a.m. and do Raw, SmackDown, a lot of the pay-per-views, some AEW stuff, and let's give it a go. And then, Tom, we built a community through that. So we call those people the Hullamaniacs. We have our moderator Jack, who's a big part of what we do. We have people that come in. So Dan Reed from Pro Wrestling.
He seems like a really good guy, Jack.
Yeah, he's great. He's a great dude. Yeah, I knew him from university actually. And Dan Reed from Pro Wrestling Eve comes on. Our Discord moderator, Dan Hargreaves, comes on as well. Danny French from Lion's Den, which is a mental health platform which supports people with tics and with Tourette syndrome. So he comes on as well. And basically we built this community, Tom, and it's taken off way more than we thought we would have done. And because of my background with Soundsphere, Tom, because we interview big level rock bands and big level artists, I was like, well, let me try and get some wrestling interviews as well. So over the course of lockdown, you'll see, you know, I've interviewed Drew McIntyre. I've interviewed, we've had Sheamus on the channel. We've worked with Impact Wrestling. And we've done all that.
You had Killian Dane on the other day, didn't you?
Killian Dane, that's absolutely right. And that's all through my work with Soundsphere and the kind of collaboration between my work with Soundsphere magazine and Gimme A Hull Yeah. And it's been way better. You know, it's been amazing through lockdown, and to have opportunities like this with you, to sit with you and promote, you know, what we've done. You know, and promote great characters like Anthony and Jack and Dan Reed and all those people. It's a wonderful opportunity to be able to sit with you and you know, and be able to meet as well, you know, creative people like yourself who are passionate about wrestling, but also about telling stories. You know, that's one of the reasons why we do it. This is just sitting here with you right now is a reminder of why it's worthwhile doing. You know, why I'm going to stay up till 4 a.m. today watching SmackDown, you know?
So going back to obviously the live streams and staying up, what is, when a show is bad, is the chat a motivation
very much
to not turn it off?
Very much so, yeah. Anthony, if you talk to Anthony about this, he would say that he has moments where before he went back to work, he was doing live streams most every night, and he had moments, particularly with Raw, Tom. I don't know what your thoughts are on Raw, but it's a long watch, isn't it? It's a long watch. And
I'll be honest, just to give you some background on me, we've had this conversation off camera, haven't we?
Yes.
I don't watch a lot of WWE content anymore.
Yeah.
Purely because of time and just motivation. Is that the right phrase?
Very, very much so, yeah. I mean, you know, it's an interesting point you make. A lot of people are switching off from Raw. A lot of people are switching off from WWE. And because I'm doing, in addition to my day job with Soundsphere and my freelance work, I am also training to be a counselor, Tom. So I'm still doing that as well. So I had to stop doing Raws for a long time, and I've only just gone back to doing it. And was
it like once I thought, just as I thought they were out, they pulled me back in?
Yeah, absolutely. I've just started doing it again. And you're right, the chat, going back to your initial question, the chat does really help. You know, people like yourself coming on, you know, it's a great hit of sort of dopamine, a great vibe when, you know, a name that you know pops up on your channel, you know, pops up on the screen. We actually had, we've had a couple of wrestlers in, we've had a couple of promotions pop onto the stream as well, which has been nice for short periods of time. And then, of course, that brings more eyes to our interview content. That brings more eyes to our Wrestling Rewind content, which is, of course, how we started,
So my next question is, what do you think makes Give Me a Hull Yeah? And I've just got to say this. I keep wanting to say hell yeah.
That's the
is
point.
That a play?
That's the point.
Yeah.
Of course
is that a play on the Steve Austin platform?
Of course it is, man. You figured it out. So we were trying
Fair enough.
We were trying to figure out a name, right? We're from Hull. We're from East Yorkshire, right? Hull and Hell. People make jokes about them being the same place. But we were like,
really?
Oh, sometimes, yeah. But it's actually a great place to live. It's come a long way in the last 10 years. It's a wonderful cultural hub now for Yorkshire. But anyway, so we were like, give me a Hull yeah. Sorry, give me a hell yeah. Steve Austin, give me a Hull yeah. Makes sense, right? That was Anthony's idea. Although my memory's fuzzy, it might have been my idea, but Anthony likes to take credit for everything. But
is he a glory hound?
He is very much so. Yeah, very much so. He's absolutely. But yeah. So that's how it came to be. And we've had merchandise. People have bought T-shirts. One of the great stories we have, Tom, is we used to sell the T-shirts in a shop in a comic book store in Hull, and a guy from Jamaica who lived in Jamaica, who was originally from Hull, wanted to buy it. He had nothing. He didn't enjoy wrestling at all, but he just wanted to have that logo, which you can see in the background. He wanted to have that logo on a T-shirt and take it home to his family to show people where he was from. And he thought
that's actually so cool.
Yeah, it is. It is. So you can buy, you can buy our T-shirts on Redbubble. You can buy our T-shirts online. But that's a wonderful story that we have there. That shows that even though we're still developing, you're not far behind us on subscribers, man. We're still developing and growing, that we have that impact, and we can have that impact on people, not only on a local and regional level, Tom, but also globally, which is lovely. It's a lovely opportunity to have.
Yeah. So obviously there's a lot of content creators out there, wrestling content creators. Yeah. What do you think it is that makes Give Me a Hull Yeah different?
Great question, man. Great question. I think we're from we're from Yorkshire. We're from Yorkshire. There's not a lot of people that are from where we are, doing wrestling content. I mean, there is the Ringsiders who are actually from Hull. They do stuff. But
really?
But we're doing live streams. We're doing live streams. We're also doing interviews. We're also working with WWE. We're working with Impact Wrestling. We're working with Ring of Honor. And I think that's what makes us unique. The Ringsiders are great, fantastic people, wonderful channel, and we're very lucky to know those people and know those content creators. But what makes us unique, man, is that we are from Yorkshire. We are based in Hull, but we're also having opportunities to work with global companies, having opportunities to collaborate with global companies. We're just two dudes who love wrestling, me and Anthony, but we collaborate with everybody we can. If we can create opportunities for other people, that's a big part of what I do with Soundsphere, and why Soundsphere exists is to create opportunities for other people. You and I have had conversations off camera about you coming onto our channel and you creating content with us.
We've definitely got to make that happen.
Absolutely, man. But that's what I mean. So what makes us different is we want to try and create opportunities for other people, for young people particularly, to have opportunities within not only journalism and music journalism, but also wrestling. We want to get people into wrestling and share our love and share our passion. So what makes us different? There's tons of live streamers. There's tons of people doing wrestling interviews. There is tons of people, doing those things absolutely and doing them fantastically well. But on a local, regional level, certainly where we're from, no one else is doing what we're doing. And I'm very proud of that. And that's not to say somebody can't come in and help us out, not to say somebody can't collaborate with us, because we want to help and support as many people as possible. But yeah, I think what makes us unique is we're two best friends who started a channel in Hull, where nobody thinks of the media, nobody thinks of wrestling. I mean, there is NGW actually, so there is a wrestling organization based in Hull.
Is there really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you been to a show? I take it.
Absolutely. No, well, Anthony used to run the lighting and sound for their shows, and we will be going to shows when they open back up again. But yeah, Anthony's worked with him quite a lot. But yeah, you know, so there is stuff in Hull, and we want to be a part of the growth and development of not only the wrestling community, but also, you know, the creative community. We want to be a part of that. We want to show people from the north of England, you know, from Hull, but also from the surrounding areas, that you can do well on YouTube streaming, and you can do well, you know, and you can get big interviews with WWE stars if you want, or Impact stars. And that's pretty much what we're about, dude.
So obviously you would have seen that a big passion of mine is interviewing.
Of course.
So I do want to go into your interview style, how you get guests. Is that the right phrase?
Yeah. Okay. Well,
so
go on.
If we start with your interview style, how much research do you do ahead of time?
Good question, man. So when I was working, again, I've been working in journalism for a long time, and I will always say to anybody, out of respect for your guest, no less than half an hour research in advance. Questions, you know, because they don't want to be asked the same questions, man. Nobody wants to be asked the same questions, right? So make it different, make it different, make it interesting. Now, what I ask, if you'll notice on the interviews, I talk about the person's, you know, I'll talk about their lifestyle, I'll talk about their family, I'll talk about advice. I get advice and tips, because a lot of our work on Soundsphere, but also on Gimme A Hull Yeah, is around inspiring and motivating others, you know, particularly young people, Tom.
Yeah.
And so you'll notice the interview questions are always about advice, tips, passion points. You know, yes, there's a couple of things about matches. Yes, there's a couple of things about you know, WWE releases, for example, with Killian Dane. But the most of that interview that you mentioned is about his life, what he's going to do next, what his creative inspirations are. You know, I want to find that passion point. You know, so and if you ask about my interview style, I'm a car crash of an interviewer, man. I'm not particularly technical. You know, you watch Chris Van Vliet, he is crisp, he is great.
The GOAT, by the way.
He's a wonderful guy. He's a wonderful guy. I love Chris. We've done
You've had him on, right?
We've had him on, absolutely, yeah. You know, Alicia too as well, who works for MLW. You know, there are people that are crisp and brilliant, and they are fantastic. Now, I've been interviewing people for a long time. I am a professional. I am paid to interview people. But dude, you know, I get nervous. I have some, you know, I have some issues there. And so what you're getting now is my interview style. I speak to you in the same way that I would speak to Drew McIntyre, and the same way I did speak to Drew McIntyre. And I think that's the other thing, is these guys are just people. They're just people trying to make a living, just people trying to and they're just, you know, people like you and I. So I treat Drew McIntyre with the same respect that I treat you, and vice versa. You know what I mean? You know, and I think that's something that I have learned, is that, you know, so long as you are passionate, so long as you are interested, you know, it doesn't matter if you mumble your words a little bit. It doesn't matter if you struggle a bit to get your words out.
Yeah.
If you are genuinely interested, like, I've watched your content. Like, I'm not coming into this interview having not watched your reviews, or having not watched a little bit of your interview with Adam the other day. You know, I know that you're passionate about what you do. You know, I
was so nervous for that interview, by the way.
Absolutely. Well, that's okay. That's all right. That's part of it. That's part of the development, man.
I don't know if I told you the story, but I've told it on camera a few times, so I'll make it brief. Cool. But I put up a list of my 10 dream interviews.
Yeah.
Somehow Adam saw it.
Yeah.
And was like, do you want to do it tonight?
That's amazing.
I'll send you the recording and everything.
Yeah.
And I was like, not going to swear, because I don't really swear on my channel.
That's all right.
But you know, like,
yeah,
I've got questions, I've got this, like.
Yeah. That's
so if you watch that interview, for the first 10 or so minutes, I had to calm the, you know, down.
Yeah. No, you came across well. And I think that the thing is, man, is fundamentally, your passion shows through. And I think that's what's going to help you as you grow and develop. I think that, you know, in terms of getting interviews, you know, it's all about reaching out to people and having a portfolio, like you say, having a portfolio. Every, for example, wrestling article every wrestling interview we do on the video, on the channel rather, there is a written article on SoundSphere about that video and about that interview. So we have content ready to show WWE, ready to show Impact Wrestling, ready to show Ring of Honor, so that they know what we do. And I think that that's what you have, what you're developing now. If you want to get these bigger interviews, for example, you know, in a little while, I could put you in touch with Impact's UK team, you know, and they would, you know,
that'd be awesome.
Well, that's what I mean. You know, once you build your portfolio and build those interviews, you know, what they want to see is you've done good interviews and you've made a real good start at that. So I think that that's the thing, is you start with, you know, you reaching out to independent wrestlers, and then those hits build, those views build. And then, oh yeah, Impact might be interested in what you've got, you know, in what you're doing.
And then maybe,
yeah, absolutely,
Ring of Honor, for example.
Ring of Honor are great.
It's about,
yeah.
It's about, for me, it's about not jumping in before I can walk, sort of thing.
Very much.
Obviously,
so.
I know it's a big pun for me, but
yeah. I always say wobbling. I always say wobbling in, and wobbling
yeah. I totally agree with that one, actually.
Yeah, but, absolutely, man, absolutely. And it's being aware of your brand. You know, I love your video intro that you've sent me. You're being aware of your brand. You know, do you want to create a website?
I cannot take credit for any of my editing,
all right,
or anything.
It's okay.
I found a guy on a Facebook group that, like myself, is an aspiring content creator, and he wanted to build his portfolio for editing.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, that's wonderful, isn't it? You know,
I cannot edit I did media at college, right?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And failed the editing unit miserably.
It's all right. Here we are. There are ways around it, right?
Yeah, failed the editing thing miserably. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to farm this out to someone that's good at it, you know?
Well, that's delegation, man. Delegation is key. You see, you know, I've brought other people onto the channel, for example, to keep me awake for Raw and SmackDown sometimes, you know, because you've got to delegate. And that's really important if you're going to build your own brand. I think your next steps could be, you know, a website to host your things, you know. There's loads of opportunities for you to grow and develop, you know, and I think the sky is the limit, man, for Tom Talk.
I think for me, and this has been mainly an interview about myself, and I apologize.
All right. No, it's okay, man, of course.
Like, I would rather do the content I enjoy than have to do content for the sake of making content.
Absolutely.
Is that the same for you guys?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, we do actively get requests for interviews, and we actively seek interviews, but that's just part of what we do. In terms of the content, for example, we're doing a watch along of Labyrinth, which is a David Bowie film. I've decided.
Didn't you do one of the Dark Knight the other day?
Did one of the Dark Knight the other day, and we just decided to do that because we can. We can, Tom. You know, we're nobody. We've got nobody to answer to but ourselves. We can be creative. We can develop. If people like it, that's great. If people don't, they don't. You know, but it's something that we want to try and do. We want to try and do sort of because, as you know, Tom, wrestling and popular culture, you know, they mix. You know, you can mix and wrestling. You can mix heavy metal and wrestling, which is why. Yeah. We've interviewed some bands on the channel as well, you know. So there's ways and means to be as creative as possible. And again, you know, for you yourself, you're you know, how old are you now, dude?
22.
22. You see, man, there's all the time in the world for you, you know. And I think there's things that you're going to learn, and there's things you're going to develop. You know, getting yourself a webcam, background, microphone, all that stuff. That's all to come, right? But
sadly, dude, all that stuff costs money.
It does, absolutely. Well, that's the thing, isn't it? You know, we have with me and Anthony, we have other streams of income that we can afford to put into the podcast, and I think that's where we're very lucky. And I think that you, at the end of the day, man, your passion and your personality is what is going to shine through. You know, I'd like to have you on our channel. I'd like to work with you. I think you've got a lot of really good potential as a content creator.
Definitely, man.
You know, so there's loads.
What keeps with the global pandemic, obviously, getting back to a bit of wrestling conversation, because I will end up blushing by the end of this.
All right, you're okay.
What was it that kept you motivated watching wrestling? Because obviously, without a crowd, it was like, this is a bit weird.
Good question, man. Honestly, dude, I love watching wrestling just on my with my partner maybe, or with friends, and I think if anything,
is your partner a wrestling fan?
No, but that's another idea we have. You see, she's becoming more of a wrestling fan, right? But we're gonna have her on the channel because for example, okay, so Tom, my favorite wrestler or performer at the moment is the Fiend Bray Wyatt. Okay. Love Bray Wyatt.
Oh, he got screwed up, but that's another conversation.
He did, but that's another conversation for me and you, right? But my partner thinks it's ridiculous. She thinks it's particularly with the Alexa Bliss stuff that's been happening.
I'm sorry to say this, dude. I think I agree with your partner.
Well, I love it. You see, but what we're gonna do, Tom, is we're gonna have my partner is named Emma. We're gonna have her come on the stream and basically, you know, because I'm going to be super enthusiastic. Yeah, you know, me and you, we're enthusiastic. We love wrestling. Emma's going to be like, hang on, what is this? Why are you getting excited about a dude who's wearing, clown pants and a mask?
A rip-off of the Joker, basically.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean? So it's going to be interesting to have that. Somebody that doesn't like wrestling, somebody that doesn't watch it, you know, talking about it. Because me and you, we can talk about wrestling for ages. We can get excited we can get lost in it.
Yeah, definitely.
We can get lost in it, me and you, right? But maybe we need somebody occasionally to be like, hang on a sec. Why are you into this? What's going on here? Why do you know? So we're going to have him come on the channel at some point.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
Following on from that question then, has there been a storyline, moment, or anything that you've looked at and gone, why the hell do I like this? Good or bad?
The Alexa Bliss stuff, man. I mean, that's a great question. The Alexa Bliss stuff, I understand why they're doing it. It appeals to, WWE. Somebody said this to me the other day. It may have been Anthony, actually, giving him some credit. I don't tend to like to, because he can be a bit of a muppet sometimes. But I love him. But yeah, so he said to me the other day, he was like, AEW is for, your 20s, your 30s, your sort of young adults, right? WWE works for kids, okay? That's why, and it's kids and adults as well. But that's why, Tom, we're seeing the Lily dolls selling really well on the shop.
I never thought of it like that.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, we're cringing at Alexa Bliss because we're like, hang on, fully grown woman, kind of dressing like a schoolgirl, a little bit weird, okay. I mean, some people are obviously into that, Tom, as we know, but predominantly it's catering for young girls, young boys, young kids.
Funny you say that. I can't remember what I showed my brother ages ago. Oh, yeah, it may have been The Fiend, actually. I was watching the Firefly Funhouse match. Yeah. And I love it, don't get me wrong. Match is one of my favourite things in wrestling. Probably my favourite wrestling match to come out of the pandemic.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
I showed my brother and he was like, this is cool. My brother's a big movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, a little bit like movies. So I caught the end of that. You went into some, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Is it still?
I'm still going. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So
I can hear you.
You've frozen in some kind of really cool looking, like sort of space. You did some really cool slow motion dancing there, Tom. I enjoyed that. It froze for a little while, but here we are. Are you back with me? Yeah. Can you hear me?
Fidgety.
It's all right. Don't worry. We'll make it work.
Sorry about that.
No. So your question, as far as I can gather, was around movies and stuff. So, and your brother kind of looking at it like a movie. Was that?
Yeah, because he saw the Firefly Funhouse as a movie, especially when I started to break down. Wait, this was John Cena's character.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
And then this was his character then, and the moment of to phrase this as nicely as I can, if he had hit Bray Wyatt with a chair, would it have been different?
Yeah, of course, man. And I think, it's interesting you put that parallel in there. It's like a movie. WWE deals with movies. They deal with action figures. They are so much more than a wrestling company. It is entertainment. AEW, man, Ring of Honor, Impact, they are for the wrestling fans. Okay, the merchandise is great. It sells, gets the wrestlers some money, but it's secondary to the wrestling. WWE, they want to be the next Marvel, don't they? You've heard.
Yeah, essentially, like, the way I describe WWE is people that are non-wrestling fans will know what WWE is.
Yes, of course. Or
they will describe non-wrestling. They will describe wrestling as WWE.
Absolutely, mate. You've hit the nail on the head there. And I think that's where we're at. But for me, dude, and for, as much as I love, and I'm a WWE guy, I love WWE.
Were you a WCW kid?
I love WCW as well, man. Give me Raven any day of the week. Raven was one of my favorite wrestlers. He was Johnny Polo in WWE.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the end of the day, man, the content, I'm a big WWE fan, but I tell you what, I also love to watch wrestling. And I think that's the problem now, is that WWE are so focused on the entertainment, on the movies, on the video games, action figures, that they've forgotten about wrestling. And watching Raw, I'll tell you, going back to your question, what's kept me motivated in the pandemic with this is the Hullamaniacs. It's the people that come onto the streams and sit with me, and they know it's boring, and they know that I'm struggling to find entertainment in the show. That a lot of people say, Tom, and you might find this if you ever do live streams, a lot of people say to me that I'm more entertaining watching me sat in my kitchen, the wrestling kitchen, is more entertaining than watching Raw. So you know what I mean?
Because you can bounce off of each other rather than just looking at a screen.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And I think, so that's what's kept me motivated. And in terms of a storyline, I've loved the Bray Wyatt stuff. I'm trying to think of other things that I've really enjoyed,
Question though. How angry were you when Goldberg beat him?
Oh, I was so angry, man. I was mortified. But then there are other characters, of course, that have shined in the pandemic. Charlotte Flair's done great work in the pandemic. Sheamus has done great work in the pandemic. Bayley's done fantastic work in the pandemic. Sasha Banks will hopefully be back soon. Becky Lynch will hopefully be back soon. So we're gonna see. Hopefully a return to form in the coming weeks and months. WWE, of course, being spurred on, Tom, by the AEW signing of CM Punk and Daniel Bryan.
Oh, we've got to talk about that before we wrap this up, because I'm not going to lie, man, I've got another interview in about an hour.
Don't worry, man. Don't worry. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I've really enjoyed it.
So, quick fire. I say quick fire, just questions that I think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, cool.
Favorite match of all time?
Favorite match of all time? Oh, dude, Undertaker, Mankind, Hell in a Cell. You can't beat that, dude.
I hate that match.
Oh, what? When he falls off the cell?
Only because, right, and I know safety of the performers and all that.
Yeah,
there's so many pauses in the middle.
Yeah, I do see what you mean. But they're all taking care of each other, man. Nobody knew that. I think Mick Foley was still alive at that time.
No. Like, I appreciate it as a match, but it wouldn't personally be in my.
Okay, all right, good. So I'll reverse that question. I know we've only got a few minutes. What's your favorite match of all time?
Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania 26.
Good shout, Tom. Love it. Yeah, nice one.
Because, and I apologize to those that have heard this story because I told it on the Adam interview.
Yeah.
But I got into wrestling in 2009.
Nice. Yeah.
And this was after, it was sort of around December Rumble time.
Yeah.
So
beautiful. Good period. A great period for wrestling.
No, sorry, it was 2010.
Okay.
Because it was the Rumble where Shawn Michaels comes in, he has to win.
Yeah.
To get the match with Undertaker, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think that was the storyline. But yeah, a great match.
And I was so invested in the story of, but if Taker loses, the streak ends, but then Michaels can never wrestle again.
Of course.
One thing I do want to touch on, with SummerSlam coming up,
Yes.
what do you think is the best SummerSlam match and the best overall pay-per-view for SummerSlam?
Best overall pay-per-view. Oh, man. 92 was good, SummerSlam. Best match for SummerSlam. Oh, man, that is a question and a half. What
Question on the 1992 one, though. Do you think, as Englishmen, we held that show in too high regard because of where it was held?
That is an incredible question. Yes, but we have still campaigned for it for years, and Triple H gave an interview, I think, and he said that the money to get everything over there. I understand why they haven't done it, because we've been campaigning for something similar for years.
I'd love a Rumble.
Yeah. But the cost, the production cost of bringing everything over is too high, I think, for WWE to consider it at the moment. But I think if you look at my favorite SummerSlam match, it is on that pay-per-view. You got the British Bulldog and Bret Hart for the Intercontinental title.
An amazing match, by the way.
Yeah, Bulldog was amazing. Of course, we're now just seeing his son back in WWE. He's just he had a dark match, I think, a couple of weeks ago. David Hart Smith, so great to see that legacy continuing.
Such a shame that Tyson Kidd had to retire and we'll never see a reunion.
But I tell you what, Tom, it's been absolute gold for the women's division. He's booking a lot of those.
Isn't he the producer for the women's?
He is, yeah. So we're seeing all the women's matches, all the great performers we're seeing, all the great performances we're seeing. A lot of that, dude, is down to Tyson Kidd. So in-ring wrestling's loss is backstage wrestling's gain.
Yeah, I agree with that. So a couple of questions just to wrap this up.
Yeah.
The question that I always ask to end my interviews on, which we'll end in a minute, so what is your favourite overall pay-per-view of all time?
Ooh.
Is that hard?
What a question, man.
I just recorded my own list of that this morning.
Yeah, favourite overall pay-per-view of all time. Man. I'm trying to think of it's got to be. I'm trying to think of specific matches, like maybe WrestleMania 17. Hang on a second. Let me just see because there's so many wonderful options. Yeah, I think it has to be. Yeah, you've got the Rock, and Stone Cold there. There's like China is still available there. You've got the gimmick battle royal. The European.
Was that the last great? I wouldn't say it's the last great pay-per-view for WWE, but was that the last pay-per-view before the big bubble burst?
I think so. Yeah, it may have been. I mean, looking at the card, you got just remembering it back. You got the silliness. You got Iron Sheik winning a gimmick battle royal. You've got Undertaker beating Triple H, Stone Cold defeating The Rock in the main event. China, of course, one of the greatest of all time in terms of women's wrestling, winning the title. Beating Ivory for the championship. Kurt Angle's in there. That wonderful hardcore match.
Isn't that Kurt Angle versus Benoit?
Yeah, Kurt Angle versus Benoit. Yeah, now obviously, if you can separate, this is a question I have a lot with musicians, it's being able to separate the art from the artist. Now,
I struggle with that with Benoit.
You see, that is a question, isn't it, of course?
Only because, right?
Yeah.
I got into wrestling after the tragedy.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know how, but when the internet was on its arse a few years ago, and I went down a rabbit hole and ended up Googling Chris Benoit. Now, every time I see him, it's like, ugh.
Yeah, of course, man, and quite right, and there are a lot of people, the majority, of course, feel that way. There are a lot of people that still appreciate his technical ability in the ring.
What if he didn't do what he did? I'll phrase it that way.
Yeah.
Hall of Fame bound.
Absolutely.
One of the greatest of all time.
Absolutely.
I cannot separate the man from the art form anymore.
Absolutely.
How do you feel about that?
No, you're right. I struggle, particularly with musicians. You know, I grew up loving, I grew up loving Marilyn Manson, for example, who's been a big part of the speaking out movement. And I can't really listen to his music in the same way again since I've heard those accusations. Benoit, Benoit is a classic example of that, and a lot of people can't separate that. I'm just looking at going back to your question. You had the TLC match, of course. Hardy Boys, Dudley Boys, Edge and Christian. You had Shane McMahon.
One of my favourite Mania matches of all time.
Yeah, Shane McMahon versus Mr. McMahon with Mick Foley, who is, without doubt, my top favourite wrestler of all time. I had a wonderful chance to interview him years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a long time ago when he was doing a comedy tour in the UK. Same with Kurt Angle, but obviously not on the comedy tour, but I did get to speak to Kurt Angle.
Worst bump Mick Foley's ever taken.
Oh, it's got to be. The Hell in the Cell, probably. With the tooth coming up through the lip, Tom.
Yeah. You know what? After we've done this interview, and after I've done my second one, I'm gonna go back and watch that match,
dude. I hope you enjoy it.
Just to hopefully get a new appreciation for it. Now I've spoken to you about it.
Absolutely, man. That whole pay-per-view, man. Go back and watch the Raven, Big Show, and Kane hardcore match. Like, dude, that was
not Mania 17.
Well, there's so many options, man. There's so many options on that card. On that card. So many options.
No, I meant the King of the Ring match with.
Okay. Sorry, I'm talking about WrestleMania 17 still. I love that pay-per-view.
Oh, I've watched it recently.
Yeah.
Because my dad was a wrestling fan, isn't anymore.
Okay.
But he'll still watch like his era of stuff he enjoyed.
Yeah.
So he was like, should we stick WrestleMania 17 on? Last time I went round there, obviously before isolation and what have you.
Yeah.
So
that's great,
I watched it recently and it does hold up.
It does.
There are some moments that you're like, ugh. How did they get away with this?
Of course.
But I think that's just the Attitude Era in general.
Yeah, it's a different time, isn't it now? We're in a different time, Tom,
The question that I would love to ask Vince McMahon is, do you think the Attitude Era would have happened if WCW wasn't kicking their ass in the ratings?
No.
Simple.
And I think we're not onto the same, because I know WWE isn't that concerned about AEW, but it's the first time I think I've been as excited about wrestling as a whole. You're talking about AEW collaborating with Impact, collaborating with New Japan. This is the very first time since WCW and the Attitude Era I've been this excited to be a wrestling fan. You know what I mean? And
I saw a meme on Instagram or somewhere the other day, which was WWE can't have an NXT simultaneous and all these promotions that are working together.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
mate. You make a great point, and I understand. Talking to you, I understand why you don't watch a lot of WWE. I do get it, and hopefully, when I finish my training, I'm going to be doing the AEW streams with Anthony on a Wednesday. So if you can come on to one of those with us, we'd love to have you, man.
Like I say, I struggle to stay up because of medical problems. We've discussed that in the past.
Yeah, of course.
But if it was a card that I was very hyped for, I would make it happen, even if I popped in for like the first hour.
We'll figure it out. We'll find a way, man. You and I will find a way to make it happen.
As I say, as we wrap this up, my final question I want to ask, and this is a question I'm tooling every time I do an interview because I want to find my signature question.
Cool.
Do you know what I mean? Where do you see Give Me A Hull Yeah in 5 years?
Oh, the 5-year question, man. The 5-year question. Yeah, I like it.
Because how long has it been going?
So we've been doing it for 3 years, 4 years now. We did 2 years of just pre-recorded stuff, just the Wrestling Rewind series. And it's lovely to hear that that's how you found us, because I don't perhaps hold that in such high regard as I should. But
why is that?
I think I love going back and watching old pay-per-views, right? And I love doing it with Anthony. But, I think that I always wanted it to be what it is now. I always wanted to have interviews on the channel, and I always wanted to do live stream
all the time, though, Dom. You've got to start somewhere.
You're right. You're absolutely right. So it's nice to know that you came to us from that. But I think in 5 years' time, I want to, I want us to be making a little bit of cash, dude. I think Anthony and I have talked about it. We'd love to be making more, some money. We'd love to be selling more merchandise. We have a Patreon. You can search us, Google us, Gimme A Hull Yeah. You can find our Patreon. You can find our Redbubble where you can buy our merchandise. So just keep it. A lot of the interviews and a lot of the content is all associated with Soundsphere, the magazine that I work on. And I'd like Gimme A Hull Yeah to be able to stand on its own as a platform where people are chasing interviews with Gimme A Hull Yeah, rather than it being a Soundsphere thing. I'd like
okay, I should have asked this question earlier then, but this is how the world works. Like, where do you think Gimme A Hull Yeah would be without Soundsphere?
That's a great question. Well, we'd be fine. Gimme A Hull Yeah would be great because Soundsphere's influence is basically in the interviews, getting the caliber of interviews we do, the WWE collaboration, the Impact collaboration. And I'm not giving us enough credit here, Tom. So you're teaching me a lesson. The live streams, that's nothing to do with Soundsphere. The Wrestling Rewind was nothing to do with Soundsphere. The videos that we have, the reaction videos, that we've done really well on, nothing to do with Soundsphere. So I think there is potential for Gimme A Hull Yeah to stand on its own as a platform for wrestling content, a platform for interviews, a platform for live streams, and that is where I'd like to see us in 5 years, dude.
Fair enough. I think that's a beautiful way to end it, if I'm honest.
Absolutely, man. Well, thank you so much for having me, and I appreciate it. And of course, we'll keep tabs on your progress and your development, and definitely have you on the channel at some point.
We're definitely going to make that happen. So, if you guys like this video, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. We are so close to 400 subscribers at time of recording, and the goal for the end of the year is 500. So, hopefully that happens. Obviously, give Dom and the guys a subscribe to Gimme A Hull Yeah. 100% worth doing. Thank you for your time, Dom, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.
Take it easy, guys. Bye. Hull Yeah.